So today's devotion begins a 6-day journey on really taking a deep dive into who David is. And we're using 2 Samuel to study his characteristics. Now, I know that yesterday I talked about some of his characteristics, and I've mentioned some of that throughout portions of the devotionals from 1 Samuel. Like I talked about champion and being a champion and how he was created as a champion in the pasture. But we're going to go a little bit deeper into some of these characteristics, and I'm going to have a couple of guests on as well. So take this next 6 days, and we're going to just be aware of some of the characteristics of David, and I hope that you are excited as well as just finishing off another book, because 2 Samuel is all about David. And so today's devotion I titled David, a Man of Passion and Honor. And we're on day 346 if you're following along on counting, and then if you're following along on the calendar, we're on December the 12th. And so today's morning rinse that you would be reading is a bit long. In order to finish out this year strong, I had to combine multiple chapters. So today's morning rinse is 2 Samuel 1 through 5. And the featured verse for today is 2 Samuel 3:36. Now all the people took note of it, and it pleased them, just as everything the king did pleased all the people. So we're going to talk about passion and honor today. And starting off this, I want to mention the fact that a role model on this earth is a great responsibility. And so studying other great role models is vital as we grow in our faith. And we can do that in multiple different ways, but David was not one who lived to follow the crowd and please the people. He was one who passionately wanted to please God. And so he usually made his decisions according to this desire. Now, I say usually because we all know that his sin is going to be exposed here in the future. But not only was he passionate for God, but he was radical when he pursued what he believed honored him. And one way he did this was by honoring his anointed, even in their death. So through the years, I have heard various people state their dislike in attending funerals because, some people might say, well, the person has passed, so why do I need to attend? Or what's the purpose in going to a funeral if they're not around here? And I've heard people say this kind of thing. I disagree with that. I believe that attending funerals gives honor not just to the loved ones that are left behind, but to the actual person who passed. And a crowd at a funeral can also give a beautiful picture of how God used their life to shine his light on this side of heaven. And that's talking about, believers who have passed. Now, obviously, if somebody is attending a non-believer, that doesn't mean that they weren't a significant part of their lives or that they had an impact in some way. But when it comes to going to a funeral of a believer who has passed, then the crowd is usually a beautiful picture of the way that person has affected those others who are attending. Surprising to us, David even publicly honored Saul, despite Saul's pursuit to kill him. And we read that in chapter 1, verses 11 through 12. That was part of our morning rinse. We read how that David honored Saul in his funeral. And it's pretty crazy that he did that. As we walk through David's story through the book of 2 Samuel, I want you to make note of any godly characteristics that you see in David. Underline them, highlight them, do whatever, but make note of those characteristics. I'm just going to be mentioning a few. You will probably come up with a ton more. And while he was still human and he made some horrible mistakes and choices, he was still a man after God's own heart and a man that we can learn from. We can take his godly characteristics and model after them in our own personal walk with God. So today, when we read about David in 2 Samuel 1 through 5, he was a man who honored those people around him, especially those who were called by God. Despite what those behaviors and failures were, he still honored them. And we can certainly have this same passion and honor for others as well in our own lives. And David was passionate in things that he did, in things that he believed in, wanting to honor God. He was passionate. And that's why I titled today, he was a man of passion and he was a man of honor. And both of those were displayed in today's morning rinse. And I hope you have read that. If you are not used to my podcast and you are starting this journey, knowing that we are studying the book of 2 Samuel and talking about David, basically what I do is I give a morning rinse, and I have that in the title of both the podcast as well as the YouTube video. And that morning rinse is what I've listed as part of what, of the chapters that you need to read in order to understand some of the things that we're talking about. And so as you're walking through your reading today, be sure and note some of the things that you've learned from David and some of the characteristics that you've learned and picked up from. He was truly passionate for God, and he wanted to pursue what he believed honored God. And and that included, of course, honoring his anointed even in their death. And that's what we read about today in the morning rinse. And honoring somebody who has passed is so vital. I know that there's scripture in the Bible that talks about the cloud of witness and in Revelation. And many people believe that the cloud of witnesses is some of the people who have gone before us and who are praying on our behalf. And so honoring people who have gone before us despite some of their mistakes and failures is key. And David did that. And so in today's challenge to dig deeper, what character trait, is it passion for God or being a person of honor, speaks more to you today? And it could be both of them. Which one speaks more to you? Which one are you connected to more? And is there an opportunity in your life that is providing you a chance to grow in this area? In either one of them, passion for God or being a person of honor. And let God speak to you about it today when you are just reflecting as you're going about this day and as you've read these first 5 chapters of 2 Samuel. And as you pull out your journal and are having your evening reflection, I want you to reflect on any thoughts you had today about this challenge, about living passionately for God or living in honor of others. And how can you do that? Is there anything that you can do today to live out one of those characteristics or both of them? I don't know. But that is interesting nuggets there about David's life and some of the things that he did. And he truly was a passionate man and passionate for God and wanted to live that out. And we saw that. And so I hope that you enjoyed your reading today. I know it was a little bit of a long reading, and yet it's important to do that because we are almost to the tail end side of reading the Bible through in a year. And so let's dive deep into David, and until tomorrow, keep rinsing, reflecting, and repeating. God bless you.